Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Were you able to tell us the size of the airplane?
I will tell you from the size of the gash that the wingtip had to be at least 150 to 200 feet wide. Oh, my God!
Oh,
the next building
there's
just
another
blew
one.
up! Oh, my God! Oh, my God!
Another plane just flew in.
I feel the heat! The explosion is incredible! Oh, my God!
Another plane as we were watching.
I don't believe this!
Yes, and like that, 18 years ago, the world watched, right? Started out just a regular day. Woke up, people going about their business. Most of you listening can recall where you were, what you were doing on that day. Here we are 18 years later, and the question I have today is, what have we learned? Like, where are we right now? This bizarre world that we live in, if we've turned everything into outrage and insanity and yelling at each other and victimhood, I question, how we've gotten here. Could you imagine what Twitter would have been like on that day? Or Facebook at the size that it is now, or Instagram? It's nuts. It is. But all of us remember where we were that day. It was an awful day. And it was the first time, because we had other issues, right? We had the bombing in 93, right? And then we had the domestic terrorism with Timothy McVeigh. We never had anything like this. The first time that we, in our safety blanket, in our bubble, our cocoon, if you will, was breached. And it was, whoa. Wow. That is something new. Never seen that before. Never felt that before. We felt vulnerable. We were in shock. We were angry. And then, through the smoke, through the ashes, the next day, we came together. We did. We came together. Right and left didn't matter. Black and white didn't matter. Straight and gay didn't matter. None of it mattered. We came together. And we said, well, all right, hold on a second. All right, we're America. Let's remember that. And we put everything aside. The pettiness. Here we are 18 years later. Man, and we're as petty as it gets. It don't get any pettier than this at times. We're more careful than we've ever been in saying things and being honest to one another. It's just we live in this bizarre world now of just scream and yell and get mad and super woke culture. And I sit there and go, wow. 18 years on. And the question is, what have we learned? We're still in some of these countries. And since then, we have branched out, fighting an ideology that is completely anti-West, completely anti-freedom. There's no real flag. There's no real country. I mean, we've been in Afghanistan, we've been in Iraq, we've been in Syria, we've been all over the place. Here we are 18 years later. And you ask yourself, why are we at each other's throats all the time? Why can't we disagree, right? Why can't we just take a step back and go, hey, you know what? Let's have a chat. Let's have a talk. Right? Remember Bush? Remember Bush at Ground Zero?
I can hear you. And the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
Yeah. It wasn't a rush. Knew exactly what we were looking at once the stuff started to come in, of where it came from. People were unified that something had to be done. Look to our government. This is what you're here for. But somewhere along the line, we've kind of lost it all. And here we are today. And now I saw a bunch of articles today where you're just like, oh, goodness me. You question, it's like, wow, how did we get to this point where we're, just this divided, this angry towards one another? I posted a picture of the towers today, and just to see some of the comments, the way that people, and a lot of them were straight at Trump, what a scumbag he is, and all that. And you just sit there and you're just like, yeah, this is the world. This is it right here. This is it. Man, stuff devolves like that. That's what's amazing now. Somewhere along the line, we have put, do you remember the days after 9/11? We said hi a little bit more, right? I'm not even talking about the patriotic side, because the day after and even the day of, we all just looked in shock. Like you could not believe it. Come the next few days, said hi a little bit more open, flags everywhere, kind of reminding ourselves of who we are and why we are the beacon of light in the world. 18 years later, we're at each other's throat 24/7 on social media. We've got media outlets that work against our president and some that work for our president. There's a battle nonstop of disinformation and BS, and also a battle to placate anybody that they think may be a group that's been not served in a way that they should be served politically correct-wise. I shake my head. It's man, I just remember the days after. We all seem to be a little bit kinder. I'd like to go back there. And I'm okay with disagreement. I'm okay with a lot of stuff, like the debates, even some arguments at times. I think it's healthy. What we have now, though, isn't an argument. We just don't want to yell at each other, and that's it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Last night, Trump, I guess through his magic, got some good news in North Carolina. Dan Bishop won, so they held on to 2 seats in North Carolina. And in doing so, though, one of the seats was very, very close. That was Dan Bishop. That's who Trump went out and saw in North Carolina the other day. And I find this to be interesting because think about this. He was up by Trump won by 12 points in this district. Last night, he won by the skin of his teeth, his candidate he got behind. And a lot of candidates across the country are going to have to face this. Where are you going to be with Trump? Where are you going to be? Are you going to embrace everything that is Trump? Seeing that places that he won at times by as many as 10, 15, 20 points now may be a foot race. Places you held for years. I think the seat that Bishop won last night has been held for God knows how long, 50 years, 60 years, something ridiculous like that. And to squeeze this thing out, having beaten Hillary by 12 points and needing everything to do it, they're going to be facing some tough questions in the coming weeks and months.
Look how he laid himself on the line for this race. I'm grateful for the president's extraordinary support throughout this campaign, and especially the closing barnstorm ending with last night's rally in Fayetteville.
Yeah, and I think that did help him. But at the same time, there's no half in or half out when it comes to this situation with Trump. If you're running for state senator, and we're in a situation here in Phoenix, right? Like California, you look at a place like that, Texas, certain areas as well. Even Texas now has a situation, and certain parts of Florida where people that are going to be in tight races are looking and saying, all right, do I embrace everything that is Trump? Or do I say, thanks, but no thanks, we're going to do it our way? Or, because there is no, you can't do one or the other. And that's the funny thing. You usually think, man, coming in, having the president come in, maybe a huge boom for you, but it isn't like it used to be, especially with the divisiveness in this, with this president and the way that people look at him. Dan Bishop won last night. It was close. That many people saw that as a real bellwether test for the president moving forward. So he's got to have a smile on his face, but you also have to be honest and look at the numbers. And in looking at the numbers, you're saying we won by 12. He skated by the thinnest of margins last night. We still got time, but that ain't good. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Tomorrow night, 10 of them on stage. It's going to be interesting. Who goes where? How do they get there? Warren and Biden are going to be on stage. Warren is now in a dead heat in a lot of places. But it does show me one thing with Biden. He's not, of the front runners, he's easily the weakest in a lot of ways. But he's also the one who seems to have the most common sense that's still out there, again, in the front runners. It shows you that there is a calling out and a cry on the left side of the aisle for somebody who's moderate, for somebody who is not what Bernie and Warren are, right? Calling for free everything in the world and calling for a lot of things that you just sit there and shake your head at. And it's a very interesting thing. And I was having a deep discussion last night with somebody about, you know, the economy can be your best friend or worst enemy. But here's something I want you guys to think about. Let's just say we go into a gnarly recession. And we won't go into the kind of recession we saw in 2008, partly because the reality is while there are some loans out there that are a little bit nasty, most people, they're manageable now. That's what got a lot of people in trouble back then. Too much easy free credit and stuff like that. We're not going to see, I think, the same kind of issue. But if I'm looking at it as an independent person, if you will, like I know nothing about either candidate, and you tell me, this person over here wants to deregulate some stuff, try to stimulate the economy with tax breaks and blah, 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 blah. This person over here wants to give everything away for free and tax. Who do you think is going to pull the economy out of the doldrums in a situation if we got there? Something to think about. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, Twitter. Tweet at us. Hope you're doing well. All right, kids. I got my soft chews right there. My Super Beat soft chews. They're amazing. At home, I've got my scoop. So I do my Super Beats at home with my scoop, and it gives me the energy, and it's got nitrates in it, and just it's amazing. It really is. But here at work, I use the soft chews, and they're awesome. They are incredible. Gives me all the potent heart health benefits I need that I get from Super Beats with just the scoop, but it's just two convenient, delicious soft chews. That's it. And it comes with a new breakthrough ingredient, grapeseed extract. Supports normal blood pressure, circulation, natural energy in your body. And I take a couple right before I go work out, which I'm going to do a little bit later. And I tell you what, boom, away I go. It's incredible. Get yours now. Boost your heart health easily and on the go with Super Beats Chews. Get your Super Beats soft chews today at superbeatsradio.com/Chad or call 800-875-9341. And when you buy 2 bags, you're going to throw a third one in for free. That's superbeatsradio.com/Chad. Superbeatsradio.com/Chad. It's the Chad Benson Show.
I can't take it anymore!
Well, get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
In the same way that a desktop 3D printer creates layers of plastic resulting in a finished product, the 12-foot-high, 33-foot-wide Vulcan 2 3D printer carefully lays down wet concrete until a house takes shape.
You print the entire wall segment up to its height, and then you add your windows and doors pop on your roof, and a few weeks later you got yourself a move-in ready house.
Dimitri Julius is operations director for the company that's printing homes for the Community First Village, where 40% of Austin's homeless population might soon live.
Wow. You can print anything. They're looking at printing organs and not the kind you go, not those kind, but like real. They're doing all kinds of stuff with these 3D printers. That is one of those awesome things that when you look at, you're like, this is going to be cool. Like, that's why I get super excited about technology. I mean, I just think we are so, like, where we're headed with technology is so amazing. It is absolutely, and not just when it comes to like, hey, we can print a house or we can print, just in our lives. I mean, you better our lives. I'm 48 years old. I think I keep myself in good shape, and my genes are okay. Let me tell you, where we're going is awesome. It really is. Where we're going, well, we're just going to ruin it with global. No, stop it. Stop that. That's one of those things that, man, I'm telling you, those are things that we can fix with technology. People are such Debbie Downers. But part of that is because why? Well, because you need to be that way. You need to evoke emotion out of people and get them to do a damn thing. You really do. I'm always amazed. Emotion is a good. When's the last time anybody? This is the reason the Patriots are the best football team is because I'm of the belief that Bill Belichick has absolutely no emotion whatsoever. None. He's got like ice. He just everything is non-emotional. Hey, wait, we just won the Super Bowl. It's fantastic. I'm already working on next year. We got 4 preseason games. I mean, there's just no emotion. He could cut anybody. It's not. It's just. And when you do when's the last time you go, you know what, I made a really solid decision on emotion? I did. It was awesome. 3D house. I'll take that. That'll be awesome. Think about the labor you save. Think about all that stuff. Wonder what it cost. I'm not into the tiny houses. I got to be honest with you. There's nothing about that excites me. I don't even know why we have tiny houses in this country. Have you seen the size of us? I'm just saying. Speaking of that, producer Phil sends me an amazing letter. We're going to read it on air about the fat shaming. How I'm a bad person. And speaking of fat shaming, a woman goes into a salon to get her toes did. It did not go the way she thought. Plus 9/11. Here we are 18 years later. I ask you guys the question. What if it happened today? Think about to where you were then and how we came together. What takes place today if that happens? Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Freedom itself was attacked this morning by a faceless coward. And freedom will be defended. I want to reassure the American people that the full resources of the federal government are working to assist local authorities to save lives and to help the victims of these attacks.
That right there was President Bush on this day 18 years ago. The attacks, 9/11, the Pentagon, Pennsylvania, the crashing of the plane, the 2 that smashed into the towers, and how much has changed. And I think back to a lot that day, including looking back on how we came together afterwards. And I think to myself, how would we act today? Right? How would we act today? I think, to be honest with you, it'd be covered in a lot of different ways. Right? It would be. Certain people probably wouldn't cover it from the terrorist angle at all, unless it was white domestic terrorists. Then they may, be forced to cover it. They'll be happy to do that. And I'm being honest here. And I think other people, I think Fox and the Breitbarts would cover it in a certain way. And I think New York Times and them would cover it a much different way. New York Times posted something today that they since went back and tried to change. And quite frankly, they didn't even do a good job doing that. It says 18 years ago, this is their Twitter, 18 years have passed since airplanes took aim and brought down the World Trade Center. What? Airplanes? Airplanes? No, terrorists did. Airplanes didn't do it, right? Airplanes didn't fly themselves into the towers. People who had an evil design got other people to do their evil deeds. That's what took place. Airplanes didn't wake up and go, you know what? I'm sick and tired of flying these people around. I'm pissed off at them. They don't treat us right. Right? They're always going, fly here, fly there. And the other airplane's like, you're absolutely right. And I do believe it would be a tribal way that we would at least be fed. Call it what it is. If it's domestic terror, call it domestic terror. If it's other terror, see Osama bin Laden, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, call it exactly what it is, right? That's what you do. But in this day and age, you can't. And groups would move to protect themselves to make sure that, let's not. I had a friend, still do, love him, love her, very liberal, went to Berkeley, super liberal, sweet woman. First thing she said to me is, well, I wonder what we did to them to make them do this to us. And I understand that. You know, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter, right? They look at us and here's this big don't stomping all over the Middle East and don't. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. But the sympathy that some people had, and I think that would be just huge. And I think if something like this happened today, it would get ugly in a lot of ways. It really, really would. I mean, think about how ugly we treat each other in this day and age. And partly because we are nameless and faceless. Right? We're nameless and faceless in so many ways. And it takes... It's so easy to say things to people when you don't humanize them. And we don't. But when you become a human, when that other person becomes another person, when you see them not in 148 words or a post or a retweet, it changes a lot of things. Ted Cruz and Alyssa Milano, polar opposites in the world of politics, are talking about guns. Yeah, talking about guns. They're meeting and discussing.
And all three of you, thank you for just having a real conversation. I think that's beneficial.
I really appreciate the opportunity. Please do something about gun violence in our country.
You have my word. I will continue fighting, and I want to stop these criminals before they carry out their crimes.
I will give the Democrats as much hell about working together. The thing that's been so frustrating for me is that we should celebrate bipartisanship. That's how it's supposed to work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I love what they say here.
I look at my children and I'm terrified. I don't know how to keep my children safe. For many people in this country, your stance has made you almost like this caricature of a villain. And that's why this meeting was so important for me, because I wanted to be able to look at you in the eye and know that you're really a human with a heartbeat.
Yeah. And that's the thing that social media has done in so many ways. Connected us, but also connected the worst of us. Right? At least it has connected the worst of us. Our worst feelings, our worst days, our thoughts, and we can hide behind this very sterile environment and say certain things to people, overreact to situations, because you're not looking somebody across the way and telling them, I think this. What you're doing is you're firing off into an empty sphere. Your 148 characters as a response with no real context, right? On either side. No immediate reaction or understanding. So I think in this day and age, if something would happen like this, I think we'd be very divided. When it comes to the media and a lot of the sounding off boards. Now, the exhaustive majority, which is us, right? People listen to the Chad Benson Show and several other shows. I think we'd all come together because we get it. But unfortunately, in the last 18 years, the people that sound off, they've gotten louder and louder, and they've drowned out common sense and decency. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Here's your Twitter. We'll get more back with them because I thought what they did was interesting. I just thought that when you bring something like that together, when you bring human beings together and you understand what they are, that they're human beings. And that's why I say, the great thing about numbers laying on the ground, you twist it one way, it's a 6. You twist another way, it's a 9. And you say to yourself, it can be either a 9, it can either be 6, a 9. What different points of view. Neither is right and wrong, depending on the situation. And I think we need to keep that in mind when we look at certain things, because I don't think we do that. How are you feeling? What is it that you see? Just like I don't know what it's like to be a black man driving or a black man in a store. You don't know that. What's he really thinking? You can say you're thinking this or you act this way or this, but do you really know my heart? No, you don't. We don't treat people as individuals. We cover everything now in this tribalism, this blanket of tribalism. It's sad. It's very sad, but very true. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. So vaping has gotten so bad, and it is nasty. Can we just say that? It is awful. It is horrible. It is vile. I know there are people out there, but this is not a good situation. President Trump is looking at banning across the board. You've got more and more kids that are, what they're saying too is the lungs of some of these people that have passed away. I think there's been 6 deaths because of vaping, that their lungs are like that of 60 and 70-year-old who've been smoking their whole lives. And that is awful. That really is. So we'll see where this goes, but it's going to go somewhere because I think there's too much. And here's a perfect example of bipartisanship, right? Like we all agree smoking, right? Even people who smoke, like, I wish I didn't smoke. Very rarely do I meet people go, man, I wish I smoked a lot more, right? No. They kind of all agree. It's a non-political thing. And vaping is becoming that way. So the right and the left can come together because in both ways, doing something benefits them both. And I think that's a good thing. And I wish we just had, I care about winning. As far as I'm concerned, the United States of America, you're my team. I don't care who scores the winning goal. We're all going to celebrate. But it doesn't work that way. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. So the gig economy, very interested in what California has done. And here's the thing with California. It is very much a bellwether when it comes to certain things. If California does it, a lot of other states and cities across the country, they start to look at, should we implement something like this?
This is a move that could essentially upend the so-called gig economy. Last night, California lawmakers passed a bill requiring companies like Uber and Lyft to reclassify independent contractors as employees. Now, under the measure, drivers would get extra protections like a minimum wage, unemployment and disability insurance, and the right to form a union. The bill makes exceptions for folks like real estate agents and hairstylists, but it would impact more than 1 million workers for companies like Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Instacart, and Postmates.
So that's a lot. 1 million workers. So think about that. That is huge. This will go into effect in January 2020 because it looks like Gavin's going to go ahead and sign this, and this is going to go into effect. But think about what the potential is and how many, and especially in a place like California where gig economy is massive. You've got a lot of independent contractors out there in the tech world. You've got a lot of independent contractors out there. And now it's going to be, the way that this thing is going to be approached is so much different. And when it comes to, in particular, Lyft and Uber, I think people that thought this is going to be great for us, right? This is the unseen circumstances of something like this that's coming. The consequences is they're going to have a shock. And so are people that use those. You're going to find out, hey, my prices are going up. Uber's not eating that. By the way, Uber can't eat that. Lyft can't. Uber is hemorrhaging money. They just laid off, I think, 900 employees. They're hemorrhaging money. They're not going to pay for it. You and I are going to pay for it. Something that cost $11 now may cost 15 or 20. Same thing, a taxi. Which one's more convenient? That's the one I'm going to. I see 5 yellow cars over there. I'm going there. Because I'm not going to wait 10 minutes with these. The last time I was at the airport, we're standing on an island out in Burbank. And there's like 70, 80, 100 of us. And I look over and there's a line of taxis and nobody's there. If the price is the same, I'm not standing on that island if I can just walk over and get in one. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Feel free to do it. Speaking of technology, somebody wrote me today and said they bought Raycons and like, dude, these things are amazing. I'm like, I'm not lying. When they brought and they said, hey, Raycon's really interested, I said, well, I will try them because I'm a bit of an audiophile. I want to try them. I'm not going to do it because I'm putting my name to this. So they sent me a pair, and my big test was not only a phone call, but also I'm like, okay, so I'm going to go out and I've got my horrible music that I listen to, right? Has nothing to do with Raycons, has all to do with my taste of bad 70s music. And I'm going to go for a run and play soccer, and I'm going to have them in my ears. And there's no wires, no stems. And we'll see how it works. Boom. Incredible. Incredible. Half the price of other premium wireless earbuds, and the sound is second to none. Founded by somebody who gets it, Ray J, right? Entrepreneur, musician. Snoop Dogg swears by them. And if Snoop swears by him, I'm telling you, they got to be aight. So what are you waiting for? Now's your chance. No dangling wires, no stems. They look great, and the sound is amazing. And by the way, when I made phone calls, kills all the noise around you. And I love that. And it doesn't make it sound like you're in a wind tunnel, which is awesome. Get yours today. Save yourself 15% when you use my code. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. That's buyraycon.com/Chad. Buyraycon.com/Chad to save yourself 15% and get the best earbuds out there. Chad Benson Show.
No need to fear. We promise we won't give you a noogie and make you cry Russia, Russia, Russia.
Pui to fearless leader.
Pui.
Pui, pui, and double pui.
Boy, it's your language. This is a family show, remember?
Pui to families too.
Nostrovia. This is Chad Benson.
You like to take naps. There's a new study that says they may be good for our hearts. Research published in the journal Heart found that adults who took 1 or 2 daytime naps a week had a 48% lower risk of cardiovascular problems than non-nappers. The length of the nap, though, did not influence the findings. Everybody here is...
A lot of companies, though, actually have nap rooms, which I think is a good idea. I can't help but think, though, you're being judged if you say to the boss, I'm going to take a nap right now in the middle of the day.
Oh, I love a daytime nap. I try to get in, so this weekend I'll be traveling, but I won't. But usually on the weekend, I try to get an hour in here, an hour in there, just because for me, it is, it's beneficial because I don't sleep a lot sometimes because I do travel a bunch. And I tell you what, I feel so refreshed when I get my midday nap. And even when I had all the horrific sleep problems as a kid growing up and through my, part of my adulthood where I really just couldn't get comfortable and stuff. When I did nap, it was, I could always nap in the day. I don't know. Maybe I'm a vampire. Maybe I am. I don't know. Speaking of napping, greatest obituary I've heard in a long time. So a family who loved their pops, he died. He was from Connecticut, and some of the stuff they wrote about him, and they are exceedingly long obit. His name was Joe Heller. Served in the Navy, worked as a library assistant at the Yale Law School. Among other humorous tidbits, his penchant to embarrass his wife daily with his mouth and choice of clothing. He was a frequent shopper, they say, at the Essex dump. He left his family with a house full of crap, 300 pounds of birdseed, a dead houseplant that they have no idea what to do with, and my favorite thing, he was a consummate napper. They said there wasn't a road, restaurant, or friend's house in Essex that he didn't fall asleep on or in. That was awesome. That is great. You have to think about that for a second. Like, what would you like people to think about you? Think about that. What would you like? What would you like them to do? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at me, baby. Love hearing from you. Check out the Instagram as well on thechadshow.com. You can grab your podcast right there. It is The Chad Benson Show.
This is The Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We come here in the knowledge that we cannot erase the pain or reverse the evil of that dark and wretched day. But we offer you all that we have, our unwavering loyalty, our undying devotion, and our eternal pledge that your loved ones will never, ever be forgotten.
Trump today. The anniversary of 9/11. 18 years. Think about that. People were born 18 years ago today. They can now go fight against the Taliban. It's just something to think about. Crazy. We got a bunch of interns and young employees here. And when I was talking to a couple other people earlier, and one of them looked at me and says, I was 3. I was like, oh. Wow. 18 years. And think about it today, just for a second. Think about it today. How would we react today? With social media, in your face, fake news, all of the stuff that we have at our fingertips, a sterile environment to be rude, to spread disinformation. And when I talk about spreading disinformation, the fact is a lot of people who spread disinformation have no idea that it's disinformation. Because they're looking for affirmation, they find it, they don't know that it's BS. And away it goes. But we also have a media that would work to protect, a media that would work to make sure that we don't look like we're awful, horrible human beings, and that we're just the most inclusive people in the world, and this just couldn't happen. And trust me, if it was 19 white guys that flew into the plane into to buildings, whew, I mean, if Timothy McVeigh did that today, what he did, oh, right? And I just remember one day I was watching, I don't know if it was a long time. It was Bill Maher. And no, you know what it was? It was Friedman, Tom Friedman. And he was over, actually. I think he was in Pakistan. And he was talking to people. And this was just a few years after. I think it was for that book, The World is Flat or whatever, that he did. And it was really interesting. But he was talking to a group of kids. And they said, they were talking about the race and the whole 9 yards and how it was, what if? And he looks right at him. He says, well, what if it was 19 Swedes that flew into the World Trade Tower? He goes, but it wasn't. And their reaction was like, oh. Because we make everything political now, right? Yeah, there's domestic terrorism. There's all kinds of terrorism. There's all kinds of bad people. By the way, I think gangs who hold cities hostage are domestic terrorists. I do. But now, with this divisive world that we live in, what would we be like? I'm curious. I mean, even back then, you saw the cracks a little bit where, you know, George Bush is stupid and he's reading a book and stuff, and you saw a little bit of that. But today, you know, we're arguing on a day we shouldn't be arguing. We're arguing over stupid stuff. Well, Hillary was there and Trump wasn't. Let's fact check all the stuff about Trump. Yet another thing. I'm like, why are we fighting about this? That happened. It happened on 9/11. That did happen. Wasn't an inside job. Loose change. You know who you are. And we shouldn't be going at each other's throats like this. But I'm always curious. Like, in today's world, what does that look like? What happens? You got New York Times saying, 18 years ago today, planes attacked the World Trade. Wait, what? Planes? Did what? Planes did? Like they woke up, hey, guys, come on over here. I'm trying to get everybody, but I'm over all of this, and I'm sick of flying over stuff. I'm sick of flying around stuff. I'm sick of always being told what to do. I'm really mad, and away we go. It's stupid, but that's the reality of it. And they, like, deleted it and stuff, and then they tried to do something else, and it just came across, again, very half-assed. But what would that look like today? What would on both sides, what would the rush to protect and the rush to judgment be? How would we treat each other, given the world of social media and the fact that we already attack each other because it's so much easier to sterile environment, 148 characters, to yell at somebody without seeing that they're a human being. That's why stories and tugging at the heartstring of people gets people to pay attention. Because if it's mass, they don't. Right? The old saying, a horrible saying, but very true in a lot of ways, that Joseph Stalin came up with. The death of one is a tragedy. The death of a million is it's a statistic. Because the story is the thing that matters. So when we can dehumanize each other by not seeing what kind of stories behind the person, who they are and what they're about, well, it makes it easier to do horrible and say horrible things to one another. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. Love and hate. We're good. By the way, I posted something earlier about guns. Check it out. A couple things, actually, I found very interesting. Guns. Would you be in favor of background checks for gun sales privately and for gun show sales at gun shows that you have a background check? So, and through technology. I'm not talking, we're going to take everything down. No, I mean, just technology that you're a person that has passed a background check and that you can legally purchase a gun. What you purchase, as long as it's legal, nobody cares. Nobody needs to know what it is. But legally, you can purchase this. Right now, 74% of the people say, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm there too. I feel that way. I feel that, you know what? We can use technology. It's not that hard. We can knock this thing out, and we can make it so, guess what? It's a background check. You go, you get it done. There's an app. We move on with our lives. We don't need to know what you bought, but he or she sold you something legally. He or she purchased something legally. You've both been essentially shown to be all right. And then we start enforcing laws. Let's try that first. How about those apples? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Okay, so the Sacklers, you don't know who they are. They are the Purdue Pharma people. And Purdue Pharma is essentially telling everybody today, here's the deal. you guys take your 2,000 lawsuits. We're going to settle with you guys. This is what we're offering, or we're done. And we're going to file for protection and bankruptcy.
A bankruptcy filing could mean smaller payouts for plaintiffs in more than 2,000 lawsuits against the company. Now, a source close to the negotiations tells CBS News that Purdue will file for bankruptcy if those plaintiffs don't accept the settlement deal by today. And as of yesterday, those negotiations were still ongoing.
Yeah. There's some stickler. I mean, they're even, there's little things here and there, but then you got to ask yourself, what are you going to do? Right? Amount of people that are dying on a daily basis because of this. Some people want revenge for what they've seen as just a evil thing. At the same time, it still does serve a purpose. It's a difference. I was explaining something yesterday to somebody about this who was, they think they should all go to jail and yada yada. And I said, here's the thing. And something like this with opioids and all of this stuff. The things that they have created, this isn't the only thing they've done, has served a purpose. And even this has. Doctors will tell you, when used right, it serves an absolute purpose. And for some people, it's vitally needed. It's the abuse of it and the lying about the fact and hiding up whether or not it was addictive. And also, you need to look into the FDA saying, you guys, were you aware? Because I feel like you guys should have been.
Richard Sackler and members of his family who own Purdue Pharma could pay up to $4.5 billion as part of a settlement connected to the opioid epidemic. That's according to a source close to the negotiation between Purdue Pharma and state attorneys general. Sackler family members could also give up ownership of the pharmaceutical company as part of the deal.
Which would be interesting to see what happens. But for some people, it will never, ever be enough.
Richard Sackler's behind bars and the family's broke. Why do they get to keep all this money and have such a nice life? In my life, I don't have my son anymore.
Well, a source close to the negotiations tells us that Purdue, the pharmaceutical giant here, has been considering filing bankruptcy since last March. Now, the company is set to stand trial in Ohio next month for its alleged role in that state's opioid epidemic.
By the way, the $3 to $4 billion settlement would leave them with a cool $9 to $10 billion left over. You heard that man whose son had a football injury, got addicted to opioids in his early 20s and eventually died. And, for some people, like I say, they want them behind bars and they want them gone, throw away the key, take every penny they have. We'll see what takes place. We'll see. But it's going to be very interesting as we move forward because this is a big, big deal. When you look around how many states are involved in these lawsuits, and it's not just Purdue Pharma. There's a ton of them, and they're trying to settle as fast as possible. And don't be surprised if we see several big pharmacy companies go out of business. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. So the Supreme Court has upheld Trump and his administration and their immigration rule that Central Americans who have come here and are applying for asylum must first apply for asylum in Mexico. That is a big win for the president. It's going to piss a lot of other people off, and this is one of those things I tell you about when it comes to the president and his legacy, like him or hate him, the potential of now with a 5-4 court, but eventually the potential of a larger court margin that leans to the right is truly a legacy builder, whether you like him or not. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. All right. You. Yeah, I'm talking to you. You got yourself credit cards. It's too high. You're paying thousands of dollars on stuff that, interest alone is insane. Right? I think America should do this because our interest rate's going crazy. But my friends over at Lightstream want to show you how you can start saving yourself some money. Right now, you can get a credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream with a rate as low as 5.95% APR with autopay. Do you know the average rate for a credit card? And you probably do. It's 19%. Oh, thousands of dollars in interest just to get that thing done. You can get a loan from $5,000 to $100,000. No fees at all, no application fees, origination fees, zero fees, transaction fees, and no prepayment penalty. You can even get your money as early as the same day because the application process is so easy. You do it right there on your phone. And for my listeners, that's you guys, get ready for this. Special interest rate discount. Now, the only way to get this is to go to lightstream.com/Benson. That's LIGHTSTREAM.com/Benson. Subject to credit approval. Rate includes 0.50% auto pay discount. Terms and conditions apply. Offer subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/Benson for more information. Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
It is dangerous for a child to use a nicotine delivery device. They should not be using them, and we are taking steps today to get rid of the attractiveness and availability of these products for kids.
Yeah. I think it's close to I'm telling you, they're coming hard for vaping. And I understand it. That's Alex Azar right there talking about what's happening with vaping. It is nasty when you put something in your body like that. It's not good, right? You know that. And the more that we're finding out, think about how many deaths they say now that they can attribute to this, which is 6. Plus, you've had so many kids that have been injured and as well as adults. And, Trump today said, hey, we're going to take a peek.
We're looking at very strong rules and regulations.
What does that mean? I mean, how much stronger can you get? Right? Got to be 21. You got to be, I don't know what this is, but don't BS me. When you say, this is something I know that's going to come back and bite them big time in the ass. So I'm going to look up and say, this is 10 times worse than smoking was. I have a feeling. They say the lungs on some of the people that have been sick are crazy. Now, is it possible people are mixing certain things and doing, making some sort of weird cocktail? Hey, anything is possible. But it's time to take a real look. And people jumped into this. It's opportunity. The industry itself was seeing, slowly but surely, their marketplace disappear. And so what do? You got to figure out a way to bring that marketplace back, find a younger generation that's going to participate in what you're selling. And that's what they're going to try to do. I don't know if it's going to work. We'll see. But it could get ugly. Want to see how much money flows in, right? Flows on in. Because that's what it's about. Flowing that money in. So, Kristen, what's her name? Cavallari? She fired her... she fired her social media manager, which is just amazing. But if you haven't seen her Instagram picture today, she's wearing the low-cut shirts with no bra in New York City and a very high skirt, right? Talking about being in New York and then saying, always remember. Okay. Interesting. She's getting destroyed for it. Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
Yep, 18 years ago. That was George W. Bush. 18 years ago it happened. That's the question throughout the day as we reflect on what took place. You look back 18 years ago, right? We didn't have social media. We didn't have what we have today. You look back and you say, look how we came together, right? Look at after the initial shock of the first few days, we started to come out of that fog and haze of because it was such it was moving so fast, and then everything seemed to slow down, and we were taking in information here, there, and everywhere. But we started to see American flags flying everywhere. We started to see people wearing NYC, hats, and we started to see people wearing American shirts, and there was just a sense of us coming together. And I said, today, that can't happen. We are so tribal. We are so just against each other in so many ways politically now because our tribalism has gotten so nasty. At the extreme ends, right? Like all of us are tribal in some ways, right? I have my tribe, you have your tribe. But the difference is like, our tribes can commingle, if you will. And our tribes over here can commingle. And we may disagree on a few things, but those things are, they're finite in the reality of stuff. But at the extreme ends, just over here and over here, I just don't know. I don't think we would come together like that. I think there would be, and I'm talking about a mass situation, right? Look at the way we react today in situations, right? El Paso, horrible, needed to be covered. Dayton, horrible, needed to be covered. San Bernardino, horrible, needed to be covered. But look at what took place, right? Look at the first thing that people do in situations in the media, which is, I have to run. I have to find out who he or she is, what party they're affiliated with, what color they are. Do they have any terror organization links? And so we can start to already either defend our tribe or place blame. And I think at this point in time, a coming together the way that we saw after that would be very, very tough. And I remember there was a fleeting moment of coming together after that. And it was when this was announced.
Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of al-Qaeda, and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands of innocent men, women, and children.
And I remember people gathering in front of the White House. I remember distinctively the Chicago Blackhawks game and the cheering the entire time for the national anthem. That's now what they do. That the minute the anthem comes on, the place goes crazy. And I remember a certain sense, because collectively, that guy was a bad guy. What he did on that day was bad. And a good majority of us were like, good riddance to bad rubbish. Right? Even people who feel like, hey, America, you kind of got what you've been dishing out for a lot of years. There was still certain people out there who still feel that way, by the way. But there was a sense that even though that might be true, he was still a bad human being. Where people on the right saw President Obama as a president and didn't see him as a D or an R, just saw him as a person who came out to announce something that a lot of us wanted to hear, that justice was served. And then you had the usual people like, it's not really him. It's not him. It's not him. That's the inside job. It's all that stuff. Just, something happens. There's a conspiracy out there for everybody. But there was a fleeting moment where for a few days it felt like we got our patriotism back. We got our humanity back. and the killing of somebody who was an awful human being. Who was? Let's be real. And full of crap, too. Can we all just agree on that? Right? Like, none of these guys who get these other people to do these things, right? None of them live anywhere near the thing. They're just a bunch of thug gangsters who've taken a religion and hijacked it and twisted its words to get revenge and to have power. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Feel free. When you do, feel free to do it. Say what you want. Guns on the docket. What will or won't happen is going to be very interesting. It really, really is. Because you got Mitch yesterday saying,
we do, in fact, await word from the White House about what the president is willing to sign. That's important to a lot of my members. It also, at the risk of repeating the history lesson, is the only way we will get a law. They are working on coming up with a proposal that the president will sign. Until that happens, all of this is theatrics.
And he's right. It is theatrics. It's a game being played. But that's what happens in a situation like this. And I got a poll out there right now, and I want you guys to take it. I want to hear from you. What do you think? You can either text the program, 323-538-2423, or you can tweet at me or take the poll at Chad Benson Show. And I think the big thing for me, and again, I'm a supporter of the Second Amendment big time. And I don't care what the NRA says, right? The Second Amendment, by the way, in the Constitution is way bigger than the NRA. The Second Amendment, you and I defend the Second Amendment. The NRA has become a political organization that has a lot of issues and has shown its flaws and has gotten away from what it was about. But do you favor background checks on private gun sales and gun show sales? Do you favor? I do. I do. 74% of people right now say, yeah, I do for both. And I absolutely do. It's not that hard with technology. Things can be done in such an easy way that isn't intrusive, that isn't going to, hey, the government's going to come steal. No, we can do it in a real way. What doesn't help is this.
He's saying, let the president decide. But then he was asked here, do you support universal background checks for commercial sales? And he ducked again. He's afraid of this issue, but that's not what a leader should be doing.
No. Joe Manchin said today that Trump and the Democrats, along with Republicans, are having actual real talk, and I think that's a good thing. I think we need to have a real discussion about this. We can look at somebody and say, hey, they've applied, they've got a license, right? They're allowed to own a gun. The FBI said so. They've gone through the background checks. They've done it just like they would anywhere else. And if you want to sell somebody that, you're a licensed dealer. You could sell somebody that. It shouldn't be that hard. But we make it hard, and we make everything political in this day and age. And I understand the fear factor for certain people out there who believe that the government's out to take everything from you because, quite frankly, if the government could, there's times when I think they would more than overstep, given their opportunity. Right? Given their opportunity. But when you've got the likes of Ted Cruz and Alyssa Milano sitting down talking about this, right, today, as human beings over the last couple of days, sitting down face to face, saying, hey, let's talk about it, rather than scream and yell, rather than just be this sterile world of your 148, characters, and let's talk about it. You see it from my point of view. I'll see it from your point of view. And we can go from there.
We have to stop, our politicians have to stop patting themselves on the back when they pass bipartisan bills. Like, you're supposed to work together. That's the point. And this obstructionist behavior that we've seen now from both sides, I think is harming the country in a very severe way.
Yeah. Call it what it is. Really, just call it what it is. I understand. I don't want bad people to have guns, but I do know bad people will get guns. And I don't think the innocent, which is 90.9999999% of us who have guns or have had guns, should be punished for people with mental illness, for people who are awful human beings, who decide to go do something. That's ridiculous. But until we can have a conversation, and most importantly, until we put aside who gets the win and who gets the, as they perceive it, a loss, we can't move forward. And I think we should be moving forward. It shouldn't be this hard. Much like with the whole, getting, hey, can you own a gun? Yeah, yes, you've passed your background test. Well, through technology, through an app, it ain't that hard to figure these things out. But they'll make it hard because it's government. They'll figure it out, right? We talked earlier about the 3D house that's being printed, right? So we're going to build a 3D house, right? That thing may cost nothing. Government will figure out a way to make it cost more than it should, to take longer than it should, and to be less effective. And all the while they'll say, ha, look what we did. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. You can text the program. What do you think? Are you for or against background checks on private sales and for gun show? People say, well, some of those loopholes have been closed in certain areas. Not all. So how about that? What do you think? Take the poll at Chad Benson Show. You can text me directly as well. 9/11. So weird. I got my watch, and I have this like the gear watch, so count your steps and all that kind of stuff. And I've got this really cool like flux capacitor looking thing on there. But when it pops up, it says September 11th, and it makes you go, whoa, wow. That's just we've been fighting the Taliban and terrorism for 18 years. Think about that. Think about what's happening. We're still in these countries. And think about all the stuff that's going on out there now. Think about our men and women who serve this country. On average, 20 veterans a day commit suicide. Also, think back 18 years ago and think about the men and women of our first responders who looked death in the eye and tried to save people in what was a situation that there was going to be no saving, not only of those people, but themselves. And that's why I'm excited to work with the Wounded Paw Project. They're absolutely amazing. They rescue animals that would otherwise be thrown away and euthanized, turn them from shelter dogs to service dogs, and they get them to our first responders, our veterans, and their families. And what it does for both of them is incredible. Their motto is save a paw to save a life. And that's exactly what happened. They need your help. Tax-deductible gift. Any unwanted vehicle. Doesn't matter if it floats or flies, they'll take it. Doesn't matter if it drives, they'll take it. They also accept cash. And when you see how this affects not only the people that are getting this, but also the animal, you realize this is amazing. Donate today. To learn more on how you can donate your vehicle, go to woundedpawproject.org or call 844-678-4PAW. That's 844-678-4729. Take action today. Turn your extra car, truck, RV, even your boat into a vehicle for change. They also accept cash donations. Go to woundedpawproject.org to find out more. woundedpawproject.org. It's the Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
California has done it. What you say? They have passed a bill. Let's explain it to you.
These college athletes make millions of dollars for the universities they play for. Why shouldn't they get paid? And on the other hand, the argument goes like this. Look, it's an amateur sport. It's pure. It's sport for the sake of sport. Why change it? So that's the nature of the debate. And now the folks who represent us up in Sacramento are weighing in. The State Assembly has passed SB 206. Now, this is a bill that would allow college athletes to earn money from their names, likenesses, and images.
Yeah. Now, the NCAA has already sent the head of the California schools and all of the schools that could potentially be affected by this a letter saying, if you do this, no more. You can't participate in anything more. Right? So USC's not playing any bowl games. UCLA, no bowl games. Right? USC, Notre Dame, none of that. It's done. What they're worried about, though, is other states are going to jump on board. And then what you have is an unfair recruitment. Because if I'm a 5-star athlete and I can go to your school and I can make money on my likeness, which I think they should be allowed to do, I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there. Yep, that's where I'm going. 100%, I'm going there. And that would make it unfair. I think they should be able to make money off their likeness. 110%. Every other kid at that campus, an adult and person who's, some people have jobs and are coming back to get another degree in something else. They all work outside of there. They're all employed in something else. They could all make money. They're making money off their likeness. They're not getting paid to play football or basketball or anything else. They're getting paid for their image rights, which I think is fair. If somebody wants to pay Johnny Manziel back in his day $100 for his autograph and a picture, I have zero problems with that. Because the school's going to make money off of him. And every other state is looking at this and worried, and the NCAA is terrified that this could set a precedent. And once it starts, as we all know, that genie does not go back in said bottle.
That new HGTV show where the Brady Bunch kids renovate the Brady Bunch house, ratings gold. Monday night's premiere of A Very Brady Renovation gave HGTV its biggest audience in 2.5 years. It was second on cable only to Monday Night Football. Other new show ratings, Kelly Clarkson's talk show debuted strong, the best debut for a syndicated talk show in 7 years since Katie Couric and Steve Harvey. Disney's Tamron Hall debuted lower but improved on the time slot over last year.
Yeah. The Bradys. Can you the Bradys? I'm telling you, that is a hit show. Who's next? Right? Who's next? What? Because you got to have a group of people that are really alive. Right? You just can't have like, hey, there was 12 of us and now there's one. Right? We're not doing, you're not going to do All in the Family if you're going to do something like that. It's interesting, though. It would be. What house would you want from your childhood? I do Happy Days. That'd be cool. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It's Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Hope you're doing well. Tomorrow night's the big debate. 10 will come and all 10 will leave the stage. I'm interested to see how it plays itself out. I'm a Yang fan. Did you see what MSNBC put underneath when did you see him crowd surfing? So he's got like his group's crowd. He's crowd surfing, and it says John Yang. Racism. No, just poorly done. But tomorrow night's going to be interesting because as I continue to tell people, and I don't think people always remember this, Trump ran to be the nominee before he ran to be president. When I see people up there, they're all running to be president. Who's going to be the first person to realize, hey, I got to take the other 9 of you out. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. And we're going to have them both on stage tomorrow night. The front runners, which is Elizabeth Warren, which is the media's darling. And at the same time, you've got Joe Biden, who everybody's looking at. And they want to know, like, are you up for this? Are you not up for this? Because you're kind of that middle of the road area that's all that's left that's still running. You know, there's Tulsi, but she ain't in it. Right? And Tulsi, by the way, is getting blown out by the left side of the aisle and the media and the progressiveness. She's been drowned out. She has been drowned out. Partly because she doesn't play this bizarre, weird game that they all want to play of craziness, right? She even spoke about it with the borders. And by the way, for you who haven't heard, 7-2 victory for Trump today, citing, it wasn't a 5-4, it was 7-2. Sotomayor and Ruth Bader Ginsburg were the dissenting votes, but 7-2, which usually means something right there, that if you're coming here from Central America and you arrive here and apply for asylum, you must turn around and go apply for asylum back in Mexico. So they have sided, and that's a victory for him. But Tulsi, this makes common sense, right? Like this is common sense right here.
The candidates, the Democrats are basically trying to outdo each other for open borders, something like that.
I don't support open borders. Without secure borders, we don't really have a country. And while some of the other Democratic candidates will say, well, open borders, that's a conservative argument, and that's not really what's being advocated for. If you look at the practical implications of some of the things they're pushing for, it is essentially open borders.
Yeah. You can call it what you want to call it. But it's open borders. Call it whatever you want to call it. But you not enforcing the law, you encouraging people, you doing the things, Beto coming out, I'm going to make 10 million people overnight citizens of the United States of America, you know, doing those things. It is exactly what it is. It's open borders. Well, it's not. I'm not for open borders. So how would you secure the border? Well, I wouldn't have a border. So that's how you're not for open borders. You just wouldn't have a border. I mean, that's the insanity of it all. To be a country, we must have borders, right? We can have doors. We can encourage people to come. We can encourage them to do it right, which we should do, which we're going to need, by the way. But we have to have borders. That's the reality of it. Whether people want to believe it or not, on the left side of the aisle, where they just think, no, we don't have, no, we do. It's that simple. We have to have borders. And tomorrow night's going to be interesting. You know, Jay Johnson worked with the Obama administration, right? Pretty cool, you know, dude, big kind of up there. He said, I'm a Democrat. He said it. But we need to aim bigger. And the politics that's being played now, I'm paraphrasing here, the identity politics, this open borders, this doesn't work. I was talking last night to somebody who cannot stand Trump. Doesn't mind some of the actions, but the who he is as a human being, he just can't stand. Would never vote for him in a million years. But he said, if Bernie or Warren are the candidates, I can't vote for him. He goes, I probably won't vote for Trump, but if you told me I had to pick between those three, I'm voting for Trump. And trust me, I was like, whoa. So tomorrow night is going to be interesting. So you got Biden still in the lead. Warren is gaining. And Warren is she's getting love, right? They're not really coming hard at her. They're not asking her any tough questions. You know, she's going out and doing her thing. And anything that Sleepy Joe does, as Trump calls him. And by the way, I haven't seen Joe in a few days. I don't even know where he's at. But anything that he does gets criticized, and everything in the past that he's done is continuing to get criticized. And they're picking apart everything because the media doesn't like him. Doesn't. The media likes entertainment, whether they want to believe it or not. The media enjoys the entertainment side of stuff. They live for the entertainment side of stuff. I don't know what will happen to a lot of these people on both sides of the aisle in the media when Trump's gone, and the thing that made them interesting wasn't so much themselves, but was the coverage of him. That, to me, will be hilarious. It will be so funny. I will just sit there and laugh because I don't think they know what to do. They don't. They do not know what to do because he has given them stuff. He is like a drug to them. Case in point, I'm going to play two separate clips here. One is from somebody. Whether you like Trump or not, he's out there. He says stuff. He gets people paying attention, and he gets eyes on him, and we saw that through the entire campaign and all of that stuff. There is something to him. Right? Doesn't make him a great leader, doesn't make him a bad leader. It's always about actions. I think the noise at times is crazy, and I think part of it is the way it's covered. It isn't always the person, but the coverage that can make you go, huh. But Trump, Bolton, they're fighting in the media. They're tweeting back and forth to each other. Trump says this.
He's somebody that I actually had a very good relationship with, but he wasn't getting along with people in the administration that I consider very important.
Also said he's doing a bad job. The other side of it. What if there is no way you're ever going to peel back the curtain, and that all that somebody cares about is, I'm just doing my job, I don't want to do anything else? Case in point, Bill Belichick. Imagine if he was a politician. Right now, Antonio Brown, again, is having issues with something that happened allegedly in 2018 between his now former trainer, who apparently he met at Bible study, and him. She is suing him civilly. He went through all this craziness with the Oakland Raiders. First, last year, he got out of, he abandoned his team, Pittsburgh, and he caused all kinds of chaos for the last 2 years. Then he got to Oakland, which he really didn't want to be there, but Oakland had the one thing that nobody else was offering him, which was money. But he didn't want to be there, so he got out of there, and now he's a Patriot, and that chaos is there. And so today, they asked Bill Belichick about Antonio Brown. Imagine if he was a politician.
Yeah, we're working on Miami. We're working on Miami. The rest of it is we're on Miami.
We're on Miami, right? Bill, what do you think of Antonio Brown in the civil lawsuit? What do you think is going to happen to him?
I'm not going to be expanding on the statements that have already been given.
Trump, he's a bad guy, wasn't doing things right. I tweeted a bunch of stuff. I fired him. Did the chaos, craziness. But think about it from the media point of view. Which one would you enjoy to cover? Yeah. I'm just going to focus on it. They do different things. They do. Right? They do it a different way. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong, but if I'm the media, I sure in the hell would like to see Trump versus somebody like Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren rather than Sleepy Joe. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me. By the way, he is getting sued. It is a civil lawsuit. I always find these things interesting, these situational things. I said earlier, it is strategic outrage. People now wait to a specific time that they either feel somebody is weak and could be taken advantage of, or I've been holding this back and I can either shut this person up and destroy their lives, or I can expose them right here, even though I've known about it for years. Baseball player, a couple of them this year, tweets resurfaced of things that they said and tweeted out 5, 6, 7 years ago. When did that happen? Everybody had it for a while. Where was it? They were heading to the mound to make their first start. to make their first appearance in Major League Baseball. By the time you get back to the dugout, you're trending. Not because of how you pitched. That, to me, is strategic outrage. Billy Bush, what'd he say? Everybody knew about the tape at NBC. Everybody did. The outrage came. Everybody had heard it. Everybody knew about it. Strategic outrage. It was released at a time to, A, try to hurt President Trump, but the outrage was there. This, I don't know if she was assaulted or not assaulted. That I don't know. I don't know all of the details. But she's going after him civilly. At this kind of time, you've had it since 2018. Again, you can question certain things. But strategic outrage is real. Watch the way things happen. See certain things when people are getting to the point, i.e. Kevin Hart. Everybody had seen him do comedy for years. Everybody know that tweet's been out there. But the strategic outrage in the way that they framed it and how they came after him made you go, huh. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. My pillow, baby. My pillow. I want to sleep on my pillow. I want to sleep on my pillow. You should get your own My Pillow. Stop taking mine. Take advantage right now, too. Huge discounts. Thank you, Mike Lindell, inventor and CEO of My Pillow. So what I want you to do, I want you to go to MyPillow.com and click on the radio listener special. What you're going to see is everything up to 50% off. My Pillows, mattress toppers, bed sheets, much, much more. Plus, normally $90, this giant body pillow. It is incredible. $29.99, but you got to use the promo code Benson. Remember this, all My Pillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee and a 10-year warranty. Simple and easy, up to 50% off everything. And the body pillow, only $29.99. Get it now. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener special, type in code Benson, save big. You're going to love it. 60-day money-back guarantee, 10-year warranty. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. What's trending? Chad Benson Show.
You go, boy.
This isn't about right or left. This is just about right and wrong.
Right you are, Chad. The Chad Benson Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old intranet. What's trending? A lot of stuff's trending, kids. Start with Google Trends. Some of the stuff trending. American flag is trending. Big time. What time did 9/11 happen? And remembering 9/11. Artie Lang is trending because he's unrecognizable, apparently, after another long-term stay in rehab. World Trade Center trending. USA Basketball for embarrassing us is trending. And T-Boone Pickens is also trending. In the world of Twitter, what is trending? Well, this one is great, kids. There's some good stuff trending in the world of Twitter. Barron is trending because of what the president said. The Stand is trending. And Kobe Bryant. Now, why is Kobe trending? Kobe posted a picture with his basketball team. They all look miserable, by the way. He says, here's our fourth place winners. I want you guys to understand he is the Mamba. Winning is his thing. That's what he does. 6 of the kids pictured stayed with me and worked every day to get better and continue to work to this day. The 7th player, not included in the pick, missed the game for a dance recital. So that should tell you where her focus was at this time. He threw somebody under the bus. That right there, that is Kobe Bryant. That's a guy who is all about, his drive is insane. His drive is absolutely insane. I read Gary Vitti, who used to be the trainer for like 30 years with the Lakers, said never in his life he ever see anybody like Kobe, ever. And one time Kobe was down and he was training with the Navy SEALs and they were just like, he's a freak. And he's like, I want you guys to waterboard me. And so they waterboarded him a bunch of times because he wanted to see what it was like and wanted to see if he could beat it. Those are things you hear about Kobe. They asked him a couple weeks ago, he was at a big tech conference thing, and he's on stage. They pay him $1 million to show up, and they said, "What would Shaquille O'Neal have been had he had your work ethic?" He said, "The greatest player to ever live." Yeah, it's just certain people that have that. That they're going to push themselves in every way, and I think he expects it of everybody else. And sometimes in life, you find that not everybody has that same drive that you do. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Strange bedfellows, indeed. We talk about it straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Freedom itself was attacked this morning by a faceless coward. And freedom will be defended. I want to reassure the American people that the full resources of the federal government are working to assist local authorities to save lives and to help the victims of these attacks.
That right there was President Bush on this day 18 years ago. The attacks, 9/11, the Pentagon, Pennsylvania, the crashing of the plane, the two that smashed into the towers, and how much has changed. And I think back to a lot that day, including looking back on how we came together afterwards. And I think to myself, how would we act today? Right? How would we act today? I think, to be honest with you, it'd be covered in a lot of different ways. Right? It would be. Certain people probably wouldn't cover it from the terrorist angle at all, unless it was white domestic terrorists. Then they may, be forced to cover it. They'll be happy to do that. And I'm being honest here. And I think other people, I think Fox and the Breitbarts would cover it in a certain way, and I think New York Times and them would cover it a much different way. New York Times posted something today that they since went back and tried to change, and quite frankly, they didn't even do a good job doing that. It says 18 years ago, this is their Twitter, 18 years have passed since airplanes took aim and brought down the World Trade Center. What? Airplanes? Airplanes? No, terrorists did. Airplanes didn't do it, right? Airplanes didn't fly themselves into the towers. People who had an evil design got other people to do their evil deeds. That's what took place. Airplanes didn't wake up and go, you know what? I'm sick and tired of flying these people around. I'm pissed off at them. They don't treat us right. Right? They're always going, fly here, fly there. And the other airplane's like, you're absolutely right. And I do believe it would be a tribal way that we would at least be fed. Call it what it is. If it's domestic terror, call it domestic terror. If it's other terror, see Osama bin Laden, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, call it exactly what it is. Right? That's what you do. But in this day and age, you can't. And groups would move to protect themselves to make sure that, let's not. I had a friend, still do, love him, love her. Very liberal, went to Berkeley, super liberal, sweet woman. First thing she said to me is, Well, I wonder what we did to them to make them do this to us. And I understand that. You know, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter, right? They look at us and here's this big don't stomping all over the Middle East and don't. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. But the sympathy that some people had, and I think that would be just huge. And I think if something like this happened today, it would get ugly in a lot of ways. It really, really would. I mean, think about how ugly we treat each other in this day and age. And partly because we are nameless and faceless. Right? We're nameless and faceless in so many ways. And it takes, it's so easy to say things to people when you don't humanize them. And we don't. But when you become a human, when that other person becomes another person, when you see them not in 148 words or a post or a retweet, it changes a lot of things. Ted Cruz and Alyssa Milano. Polar opposites in the world of politics are talking about guns. Yeah, talking about guns. They're meeting and discussing.
And all three of you, thank you for just having a real conversation. I think that's beneficial.
I really appreciate the opportunity. Please do something about gun violence in our country.
You have my word. I will continue fighting, and I want to stop these criminals before they carry out their crimes.
I will give the Democrats as much help about working together. The thing that's been so frustrating for me is that we should celebrate bipartisanship. That's how it's supposed to work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I love what they say here.
I look at my children and I'm terrified. I don't know how to keep my children safe. For many people in this country, your stance has made you almost like this caricature of a villain. And that's why this meeting was so important for me, because I wanted to be able to look at you in the eye and know that you're really a human with a heartbeat.
Yeah. And that's the thing that social media has done in so many ways. Connected us, but also connected the worst of us. Right? It has connected the worst of us. Our worst feelings, our worst days, our thoughts, and we can hide behind this very sterile environment and say certain things to people. Overreact to situations. Because you're not looking somebody across the way and telling them, I think this. What you're doing is you're firing off into an empty sphere. Your 148 characters as a response with no real context, right? On either side. No immediate reaction or understanding. So I think in this day and age, if something would happen like this, I think we'd be very divided. When it comes to the media and a lot of the sounding off boards. Now, the exhaustive majority, which is us, right? People listen to the Chad Benson Show and several other shows. I think we'd all come together because we get it. But unfortunately, in the last 18 years, the people that sound off, they've gotten louder and louder, and they've drowned out common sense and decency. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Here's your Twitter. We'll get more back with them because I thought what they did was interesting. I just thought that when you bring something like that together, when you bring human beings together and you understand what they are, that they're human beings. And that's why I say, the great thing about numbers laying on the ground, you twist it one way, it's a 6. You twist another way, it's a 9. And you say to yourself, it can be either a 9, it can either be 6, a 9. What different points of view. Neither is right and wrong, depending on the situation. And I think we need to keep that in mind when we look at certain things, because I don't think we do that. How are you feeling? what is it that you see? Just like I don't know what it's like to be a black man driving or a black man in a store. You don't know that. What's he really thinking? You can say you're thinking this or you act this way or this, but do you really know my heart? No, you don't. We don't treat people as individuals. We cover everything now in this tribalism, this blanket of tribalism. It's sad. It's very sad, but very true. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. So vaping has gotten so bad, and it is nasty. Can we just say that? It is awful. It is horrible. It is vile. I know there are people out there, but this is not a good situation. President Trump is looking at banning across the board. You've got more and more kids that are, what they're saying too is the lungs of some of these people that have passed away. I think there's been 6 deaths because of vaping, that their lungs are like that of 60 and 70-year-old who've been smoking their whole lives. And that is awful. That really is. So we'll see where this goes, but it's going to go somewhere because I think there's too much. And here's a perfect example of bipartisanship. Right? Like, we all agree smoking, right? Even people who smoke, like, I wish I didn't smoke. Very rarely do I meet people go, man, I wish I smoked a lot more. Right? No. They kind of all agree. It's a non-political thing. And vaping is becoming that way. So the right and the left can come together because in both ways, doing something benefits them both. And I think that's a good thing. And I wish we just had, I care about winning. As far as I'm concerned, the United States of America, you're my team. I don't care who scores the winning goal. We're all going to celebrate. But it doesn't work that way. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. So the gig economy, very interested in what California has done. And here's the thing with California. It is very much a bellwether when it comes to certain things. If California does it, a lot of other states and cities across the country, they start to look at, should we implement something like this?
This is a move that could essentially upend the so-called gig economy. Last night, California lawmakers passed a bill requiring companies like Uber and Lyft to reclassify independent contractors as employees. Now, under the measure, drivers would get extra protections like a minimum wage, unemployment and disability insurance, and the right to form a union. The bill makes exceptions for folks like real estate agents and hairstylists, but it would impact more than 1 million workers for companies like Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Instacart, and Postmates.
So that's a lot. 1 million workers. So think about that. That is huge. This will go into effect in January 2020 because it looks like Gavin's going to go ahead and sign this, and this is going to go into effect. But think about what the potential is and how many, and especially in a place like California where gig economy is massive. You've got a lot of independent contractors out there in the tech world. You've got a lot of independent contractors out there. And now it's going to be, the way that this thing is going to be approached is so much different. And when it comes to, in particular, Lyft and Uber, I think people that thought this is going to be great for us, right? This is the unseen circumstances of something like this that's coming. The consequences is they're going to have a shock. And so are people that use those. You're going to find out, hey, my prices are going up. Uber's not eating that. By the way, Uber can't eat that. Lyft can't. Uber is hemorrhaging money. They just laid off, I think, 900 employees. They're hemorrhaging money. They're not going to pay for it. You and I are going to pay for it. Something that cost $11 now may cost 15 or 20. Same thing, a taxi. Which one's more convenient? That's the one I'm going to. I see 5 yellow cars over there. I'm going there because I'm not going to wait 10 minutes with these. The last time I was at the airport, we're standing on an island out in Burbank, and there's like 70, 80, 100 of us. And I look over, and there's a line of taxis, and nobody's there. If the price is the same, I'm not standing on that island if I can just walk over and get in one. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Feel free to do it. Chad Benson Show.
Experiencing separation anxiety? That's dumb. Check out Chad 24/7 at his website, ChadBensonShow.com, and on iTunes, free. The Chad Benson Show. Never feel lonely again.
Abbey Road was the Beatles' last album, and the story goes that that was by design. They wanted to go out on an artistic high, but acclaimed Beatles author Mark Lewison played a recently discovered tape for The Guardian, in which the band discusses plans for a post-Abbey Road release. John Lennon can be heard talking about a songwriting split. Lewison calls the new info a revelation.
Yeah, but then Yoko Ono. I think that's pretty much everybody, right? Like, why would you want to be the most famous man on earth who could have anybody when you could have Yoko? Oh no, here she is. Sorry, did you hear that? I interviewed her once. Oh my God. She rambled and just that was eye-opening right there, I'll tell you that. You know what I did a little earlier? I had a Boo Oreo cookie. Oh my God, delectable. Delectable. Can I just tell you guys that? I was like, what is this? Like, it's an Oreo, but it's got orange instead of white because it's Halloween, and it's a Boo Oreo cookie. And I'm like, God, this is why the rest of the world hates us. I'm just letting you guys know. Yet at the same time, they all seem to be coming here, and the court has ruled, at least for now.
The Supreme Court temporarily allowing President Trump to enforce a new Central American asylum rule saying that even unaccompanied children cannot seek asylum here if they enter through the U.S.-Mexican border unless Mexico or another third country denied that request. This isn't a final ruling as the actual court fight is working its way through lower courts. Only 2 justices dissented, Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Sonia Sotomayor.
But remember this, Trump, as the president, one of the things he gets to do is deal with things like our protection, our borders, and so I still think it's going to be upheld. I do. I think it's now certain nations we kind of have a pact with. We will allow them to come here, but most nations, and that was the thing with Central America and Mexico, is we've allowed them to come here in seeking asylum and doing things and pass through Mexico to get here, where if you fly from another country and you land in Canada, you must apply there. So that is now, at least temporarily for the 3 Central, the triangle there, they're going to have to do that. And I don't know what's going to happen when it comes to people that have already put themselves in a situation where they're here and they're being held. Are they going to be sent back? Are they not going to be sent? I couldn't tell you. And I don't know what's going to, I'm sure this will be overturned somewhere. I mean, or they'll come out with another ruling that will then go to another higher court that will then eventually get to the Supreme Court, and they will once again have the final say. So it'll be interesting. Just a reminder, folks, today is 9/11, and a lot of people out there talk to their kids. I spoke to Jack this morning, and we had a conversation about it. And, a couple of people around here say, well, how did you speak to your kid about it? I said, I kept it simple, stupid. And that was the best way to do it. You keep it simple, stupid, in the sense that here, this is what happened. You don't need to go into the geopolitical, because I heard some people on other shows talking about, well, I'm explaining this. I'm like, my son's 9. Most kids, he wanted to know, okay, give us the gist. There was bad guys. This is what happened. You don't need to tell them the backstory. So many people, they overdo it. Let's be kinder to each other. Can we do that? Here's your useful fact of the day that may start a conversation. You know those giant tankers? You know how long it takes to slow them down, eventually come to a stop? 20 minutes. So it's not like you could say, get out the way! It doesn't work that way. Have a wonderful rest of your night. We'll do it again tomorrow. We got you over the hump. Night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.